Hello! Big news from our friends over at DistroKid. They now have an app. This app works on iOS and Android, of course, and it's available in the Apple Store and Google Play stores and all the stores where you buy apps. Go check it out. It's got a lot of cool features. You can upload new releases, you can get notified when you've earned royalties. Awesome. You can withdraw from the app via push notifications. A little dangerous for me, but rad. Anyways, go check it out. It's all at distrokid.com/app. And don't forget, you can still get 30% off your DistroKid account by going to distrokid.com/VIP/tour stories. Have a great one. We would like to celebrate our friends and supporters over at Izotope.com, fine makers of audio software for repair, mixing, and mastering. You know their goods: RX10, Neutron 4, Ozone 11, Nectar 4. Chris and I love them, we use them, and we know you'll love them too. And right now they're having a New Year's sale on many of their software bundles. Go to izotope.com and check it all out. And use code RUIN10 when you check out to get your discount. Again, it's izotope.com. And enjoy. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Joe.
How's it going, man?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Excited to talk to you. It looks like you're in a studio by that baffle hanging behind your head.
Yeah, it's probably incorrectly placed, but yeah, I'm in a little box that I spend all my time in.
Oh,
here.
yeah. Where is that?
That's in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like Louisville. Who doesn't, though?
Yeah, it's great. It's a good place to live and a good place to escape as well.
Yeah. Did you grow up there?
I grew up I was born in Lexington, Kentucky, which is about an hour east of here, and then grew up in a really small town called Elizabethtown that is about an hour south of here. But my family's all from Louisville, going back generations. So once, I graduated from high school, moved back up here and been here ever since.
Yeah. Were you a teen in Lexington?
No, I was 8 when I moved out of there.
Into the small town?
Mm-hmm.
When did that start driving you crazy? What age were you where you were like, fuck this fucking small town? Or were you?
I mean, probably, I guess when we could drive, really, I mean, but it was so close. It's 45 minutes from Louisville. So as soon as I discovered there were bands and shows, we were just up and back constantly in a way that kind of boggles my mind now because my mom still lives there. The town's called Elizabethtown. Mm-hmm. And when I drive down there, I'm like, God, this takes forever. Right. But back then when you were 16, you could just go back and forth 3 times a day.
Yeah, if you needed to.
Yeah. But I'm actually super thankful for that weird insular upbringing and learning to like create my own thing by being unaffected by other stuff.
Yeah. Ultimately, I am too. I grew up in a very small town in Northern California and had to figure things out.
Yeah.
Had to be resourceful.
Right.
So it sounds like you went to shows in your formative years. What were you watching back then when you were a kid going to Louisville shows?
I was a Discord Records fanatic.
Oh,
right?
You were?
Like that was, yeah. So that I discovered all that stuff before I realized there were local bands. I didn't have any concept that bands existed in Louisville. I guess I just thought they were in big cities, probably coastal cities. So my first show was a Jawbox show in 93 maybe. And then around that time I discovered there was a really fertile local scene in Louisville. But that was, just the classics like, SST, Discord, Caroline, and then, Matador and Merge and just all that, some Touch and Go, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. God, Caroline, I wonder where that catalog is. I mean, I'm assuming it's dispersed to a million people, but I'd kind of like to take a glance at the Caroline catalog. I'll go downstairs and look at one of my record jackets that has the catalog on it.
Right. But like for me, it was like the Misfits and Bad Brains and
Yeah.
just, yeah, then there would just be weird, odd stuff on Caroline. And
Yeah.
it was in my local mall. So
Yeah.
yeah, luckily I found it.
How else was music in your life? Were you playing? Did you have formal training? Did you just pick an instrument up?
No real training. I think my mom said when I was 5, I tried the Suzuki violin method, but I was allergic to cats back then. And the teacher had a bunch of cats, so that didn't last long. And then in middle school, I played alto saxophone in band for a couple years. But then when I was 15, I got a guitar and just started writing songs. Didn't know anything, still don't, just
Right.
it's a tool to make songs, and that's what it's always been.
Right. Well, you've successfully made another wonderful set of songs. The new Fotocrime record on Artoffact Records.
Yes.
The record is called Accelerated. Sorry, I got my words all jumbled up there. I recently familiarized myself with the Fotocrime catalog, which you've been prolific in a short amount of time. You guys have released a lot of records, and I as much as I could in a short amount of time, I kind of can see a quick evolution, and this new record is of course pretty synth heavy, dark dance pop, but in my brief education here, it seems to be the poppiest and at the same time the most cinematic record to my ears. And the weird thing to me about that is, as probably a lot of people do, I equate cinematic with maybe less vocals, but there's a lot of vocals, there's a lot of melody in this, and it somehow still perseveres this cinematic quality. And I think this record is richer in melody than the rest of them. And lastly, I will say maybe the darkest. So I think it seems like you've reached the hill, or hopefully there's more hills, but you've reached the top of the mountain maybe. How does this record feel different to you, or does it feel different?
It does. As you probably know from being a musician, it's like you make music and you have all these concepts, and then by the time it comes out, all those concepts have kind of dissipated in your brain. Sometimes I feel like I need to write a new mission, like write the mission statement as I go along so I can remember, because the greatest thing is it just becomes what it is, and all those little ingredients you put together dissipate. And but this one, a lot of things, like the previous record was, I didn't intend it to be, I didn't think it was, but the previous record, Heart of Crime, was absolutely my pandemic record. It was the first record I recorded entirely on my own, set up a studio in my house, and then kind of graduated to building my own little studio, and brought in a couple of friends that have been in the band and off and on, and we've been friends and bandmates for a very long time. Nick and Will, I brought them in as full members of Fotocrime, and we made this whole record here in my studio. So yeah, it's great to hear like about the vocals, because I did approach them very differently, thought a lot more about the melodies, tried to strip down the songs in their very embryonic stage to just classic chord progressions.
Right.
There's a lot of layering and electronics and all that kind of stuff, but still make sure that the classic chord progression of a well-written song is the basis for everything.
Right.
And then elements like there's segues that kind of tie songs together.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, does every musician see a movie in their head when they write a song?
Right. I don't know. I know.
Yeah, do you?
I kind of do, but I'm on the amateur side of ultimate songwriting. But I do. I mean, that's my actual vehicle. I don't know if it's a crutch, but yeah, I think that's my motivation typically.
Right. Mine too. So Fotocrime is as much based on cinematic ideas of film noir, maybe some 70s New Hollywood kind of stuff, and just all those different things that I love in film, which is I might be as passionate about as I am music. And then also some elements of literature and all that. So to me, it's this thing that's somehow like 50s Americana, rockabilly, Douglas Sirk melodramas meets this concrete, Cold War, Wings of Desire, German wave, stuff. So it's like those two things, and that's what I want out of it. And so every song is a little movie, in my mind, and hopefully there's a story there that takes the listener to that place in their imagination. And that's the goal. And it's great to hear that it translates, because it's your own little fantasy world, and you put it out there, and it's hard to know whether that fantasy translates or not all the time.
Right. And a lot of people still are saying, I'm talking to people about their new records, and a lot of people now are saying, or still saying, this is kind of the pandemic record for a variety of reasons, just practicality, whatever. I think you're an indicator that we're getting over that hump. You've got the post-pandemic record, or however you want to put it. Lyrically, could you put your finger on how this record might be different from the previous one?
Lyrically is harder to say for me. I'm trying to think of like the themes on the previous record. I can really see in terms of actuality, like the last Fotocrime record came out in August 2021, and we started going on tour. So it was like, we were venturing out a little bit. Some things were canceled. We were navigating it. Last year we got out a little more. We went back to Europe for the first time since it all happened. So this one does feel like, okay, we're a band again. These are songs inspired by being on tour. These are demos we listened to on tour. But it is interesting that lyrically there are still some things that I am dealing with that happened at the time. My cousin, who was a drummer, who was 4 years younger than me, he died a month into the pandemic. We'd been in bands together and grew up very close, and he kind of discovered punk and indie rock and all that stuff through me. And he was an addict and was on the right track, but lost his job when things shut down. Yeah. And immediately relapsed. And so there's songs about that on the previous record. And then as I was writing, I'm just like, it's still there, and so that's in there. And then there are these echoes that keep reverberating, right? Yeah. And you're moving out of it. And I also find myself like really angry in a class warfare kind of sense often, and that's kind of injected into the record here and there. So it's all mixing around there in the blender and pops out in different ways.
Well, I'd like to play Accelerated. Is that cool with you?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
Getting any stronger. The story's end.
stronger. Journey's end is closing in. When did this become so accelerated? When did this become so accelerated? Won't make you suffer too much longer. Don't think we'll be getting any stronger. Journey's end is closing in. Closing in.
That song's more of a journey than I remembered. That's a great tune.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about how you do make these records. You said that you've sort of more concretely incorporated a couple people on this record. What was your process with making this record? Do you write demos in your studio? Do you have them over? Do you send files around?
I have them over. They're both local, and we're very fortunate to have this little, Louisville community of musicians. And for this, it's pretty insular. My brother also is a musician, and Nick, our guitar player, is in a band called Young Widows with my brother, and our bass player Will and I do another band. So we all kind of do all these things, and so it ends up being this really neat little tight knit community. And so as I write the songs, I demo them, but also it might just be a little like, willowy bit of an idea. Mm-hmm. And you just keep coming back to that and seeing where that goes. And sometimes that idea never comes to a point where I feel like I can sing on it or whatever. But generally, I kind of build the songs from the ground up. For a long, long time, I've been writing songs first based on the beat and the bass line, because I generally prefer guitar in a textural way versus a riffy type of thing. Like I want the chord progression to be there, even if the chords aren't being played, right? Like
I feel that. Yeah.
And so what I do is pull out all these different various drum machines I have and start exploring the textures and pulling a snare off of one or a kick off of another, and often find this bit of something that resonates with me. Like with Accelerated, there's a guitar loop that was spliced into a repeating loop, and then these Simmons electronic toms.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what that was. I mean, you can get that sample, but that's funny.
Yeah, I'm not a purist, but I find that the real things just sound better. I don't like software synths really, because I like turning knobs.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something without sounding like an old geezer. I think the mystery is it's, it's being plugged in. It's got a slightly different frequency to it. The power is slightly different. That's what makes it different, because everything else is sampled. I mean, really.
Right. And there might be a ground hum you have to compensate for,
right. or not.
It's right. It's surprising to me how many of the drum machines, when I just plug them in straight, how truly shitty they sound.
Yeah. That's why I hated them for years.
Right. And And then you see, well, this is why they sounded awesome on some 4-track minimal synth thing, because they were going into really rudimentary recording software that really grimied this thing up.
Yeah.
And so that process is great to me. I use a lot of tape delays because I find like, even if a guitar just always sounds nice hitting tape. So the tape delay is almost always being used. And so I write the songs and then get them to a point where I can take them to my bandmates and have them, work to their talents. Will is a really great bass player and writes great bass ideas. And so I bring the song to him and he comes up with that part. Nick's an amazing guitar player. Both these guys are feel like real musicians, where I just feel like a song creator, like they can pick things up really fast.
Yeah.
And I get their input on arranging and all that kind of stuff. It's a weird process because it's fast, and that I think they get back to the song in the end and they don't remember playing on it sometimes. They're like, what's this one? But when something is ultimately your own project like this is, it's my thing in the end, I want their input. And as long as I feel like I'm getting it and they feel like they're a part of it, whatever the means are that justify that end, is really cool. And it still feels like a camaraderie. I want somebody in here. I don't want to be completely isolated in this box, making music in a total vacuum. It gets lonely.
Yeah. Well, all of these things yielded a great record. Congratulations. It's
cool. Thank you.
It's a great listen. And it seems like your output is so prolific. You don't, I don't take you as someone that is going to stop doing this.
Probably not. I want to do it as long as possible. I mean, I dream of those days, like when the Ramones were releasing an album every 6 months, or the Beatles or whatever. It's like, it's weird because maybe we're there. Maybe it's a different generation is there where they release music digitally constantly.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something I need to adapt to, because I really like making music and I like the process and I hate waiting for it. And I don't like, I love this part of it. I love talking to people, but I don't like the promoting the way that it's promoted now, all that kind of stuff, right?
I gotcha.
I mean, nobody does,
really,
no
one
guess.
does.
But yeah, so I just want to make and make and make, but I realize that like the world only has so much capacity to process anything.
Yeah.
But I don't have any plans of stopping, but I always have those thoughts, especially on tour, of like, okay, when I'm 65, can I pull my guitar case and pedal board up 5 flights of concrete steps in Germany to get to the place I'm staying, or like, just that kind of stuff. Like, I don't see how people do it who aren't huge rock stars.
Yeah.
They're probably staying in the same hotel I'm in with like the worst back pain in the morning. Like if you're 70 years old, I just don't see how it's possible,
Well, we'll see. Modern medicine.
Right. Exactly. Stem cells at the show.
Yeah. Well, in addition to writing and recording music, you do a couple other things. You're a bit of a hyphenate, I'd say.
Well, yeah, I own this site called shirtkiller.com that is like it's an online store for a huge variety of bands. And I've done that for close to 20 years now.
Oh.
And I'm like the official online store for Slint and...
Who's Slint?
Oh, I know you were in Blackheart at some point.
Yeah.
I sell some Blackheart stuff.
Oh,
I know
right.
Paul. And Paul's on the previous Fotocrime record, actually, on a song.
Oh, God. Because there's a song on the new record, and I was like, Paul? Like, this reminds me so much of Paul. I can't remember what song it is, but it's something on the new record.
We are big fans of Blackheart. Yeah. So yeah, Shirt Killer does this. It's really awesome. It's like I work with a lot of active bands, a lot of active heavy bands like Thou and The Body and Mono from Japan. And then I do a lot of what you might call legacy bands. Like I do Dag Nasty and Jawbox and Shudder to Think. And so it's this neat thing of working with my friends that I know from tour and all my years, and also it feels like playing with toys. It's like I bring on a band I love and they send me all their artwork and I recreate their shirts. And and it's so fun. It's like,
I bet.
it's like, yeah, like, and it's reached a point where, I'm a pretty like humble guy. I'm always kind of got like an underdog mentality. I think maybe from growing up in a small town, and every once in a while I realize with this business that it's pretty damn respectable,
Right. Yeah.
There's this band called Seaweed that was on Sub
Yeah.
Pop from Tacoma, and I grew up loving them.
Yeah.
And they just popped into my head one day, and I tracked them down and wrote them. And then by the end of the day, they were like, yeah, let's do a store. And we're launching that soon.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, so that kind of thing is just so exciting and I really fulfilling. So I do that. And then I also have a store brand type thing called Cat Magic Punks that evolved from some shirts I made for my previous band that had my cats on them, and they became really, really popular. And I thought, well, maybe I should just make shirts with just my art with my cats and other cats on it. And I started doing that, and it did pretty well. And then as that went along, I started to kind of inject like, socio-political messages. Like I have a shirt that is called Claws, and it's Cat Lovers Against White Supremacy. And it was one of those weird little things that popped in my head that you couldn't believe didn't exist already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just became like massive, like way bigger than anything I've ever done musically. It's like,
All right.
I see photos all the time. It raises money for anti-racist groups. It's raised a ton of money.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, my pleasure. So all that's super awesome. So basically I just work in art and music all the time. And I have for a long, long time. It's really amazing. I've just, from being a kid that started working at like a local indie label when I was maybe 20 or 21, I've completely forged this path that's like, outside of the mainstream and on my own terms. And it's super cool. And yeah, enables me to do all this music stuff all the time.
That's great, man.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
You've got that DC industrious vibe too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was a huge thing. I remember having this kind of revelation when I was working at that label when I was a kid and thinking, chances are I'm never going to make a living as a musician. Most of the bands I love are pretty unknown, and I need to do something else to make this all work. Right.
Right.
And to make it part of the community and part of this overarching idea. So I'm unbelievably, I was able to make that happen.
You did.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And to come full circle, you told me at the beginning of this that you were allergic to cats, and that went away.
I was, yeah. Yeah. When I met my partner, she had 2 cats, and that was a long time ago. But when I first started hanging out with her, I just took a Claritin every day. I would be around the cats, and the allergy went away. And then I lived with those cats for a long, long time, and yeah, no allergy at all. It's pretty wild.
Amazing. For love.
Yeah, but
your allergy went away for love.
Yeah. I had never pet a cat before her cats because it was just like straight up allergy attack.
Wow.
So it's kind of wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about touring? You have some touring this year?
Yes. We're getting ready to go on tour. We start a tour at the end of August, doing the States and Canada throughout the fall, and then go to Europe for a short thing in December, and then more next year. So,
all right.
Yeah,
I'm jealous of anyone who gets to go to Europe. I haven't been in too long. Even if it's 50 concrete stairs and a sleeping bag on the dirty floor. Well, maybe I'd
at its
I'd be
worst,
cranky.
it's still great. Yeah, even when it's bad. Yeah.
Not saying that you're doing that, but that's just that's a black heart memory right there.
Nice, very nice.
Well, good luck on your tour and travel safe out there. And if you come to Seattle, I'm going to come out and check you all out.
Okay, thank you.
And next time I'm in Louisville, I'm going to bother you.
Yeah, please do.
Give me a tour.
I will.
All right, man. Well, it was great to talk to you, and congrats on this record again.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
All right.
Bye.
lunatics in the tower, like the cats in the street. I'll stare in bemusement at the ruin of our dreams. We all succumb to our nature, we give in to our fears. When the end is nigh and the light is low, I still need you here. Endless fragments of chaos, countless detours of art, all seek to distract us from the pain that we cause. Still you're the dream that I reach for, you're the way color feels. If this world has mercy, it'll lead us back here. We all succumb to our nature, we give in to our fears. When the end is nigh and the light is low, I still need you here. We all succumb to our nature,